gorgeous human beings of the Charisma Masterclass and of the We Are Alpha Femme membership. Whew. Today's going to be a big one. I'm excited about today. We've got big plans. I hope you're ready for this one. This one really sets the entire rest of the whole program in motion. It's a very important pillar of this program. So the first thing I want to set is a context for how different what we're going to talk about today is based on what usually people would describe as charisma. So yesterday I had you take a little look at yourself and see what some of the things are where you find it charismatic when people have it, or people have told you. This is what I asked you yesterday. What have people told you is great about you? And then you took a second and you looked at it and you're like, oh, these are some things people have said. So if you have a second, I would love for you to put in the comment section, what are some of the things people have said about you, whether you're sassy, funny, confident, playful, calm, powerful, luminous, thoughtful, witty, bold, love your heart, charming, so brave, authentically confident, fascinating, exciting, brave, courageous, energetic, silly, inspirational, funny, loving, wise, sweet, loving, positive, sensual, gorgeous, playful, bold, real, bold, graceful, warm, intelligent, makes everyone feel special, determined, warm, smile, funny, wise, joyeuse, so happy, drôle, funny, élégante, elegant, creative, psychic, talented, funny, happy, positive, good energy, infectious energy, funny, loving, authentic, magnetic, joyful, sassy, powerful, interesting, trusting, compassionate, loving, deep, kind. My fiance told me I'm a huge leader. Bold, authentic, confident, wise, knowledgeable, talented, grounded, attuned, inspiring, kind, caring, smart, funny, loving, funny, smiling, a calmness about you, funny, organized, caring, fun, confident, resilient, bubbly, happy, badass, caring, sexy, calm, trustworthy, approachable, a dork. Love that. Okay. And anyone here who, if you're a dork, you're my friend. Like, I love the dork. Raise your hand if you're one of those. Like, that for me is a win, right? Funny, silly, inspirational, great energy, magnetic, joyful, exuberant, fill a room with light, genuine, funny, beautiful, glowing, real, easygoing, kind, direct, classy, authentic, fun, glowing, sarcastic. Who's the kind of person who, if your sarcastic humor is your thing, it's your favorite. If someone's sarcastic, you're having a field day, you think they're hilarious. Who's that kind of person who loves the sarcasm? Okay. Courageous, loving, inspiration, wise, goddess, sexy, confident, life of the party, grounding, wise. Dorks unite. That's hilarious. Sensitive, zen, kind-hearted, encourageable. So what I love about these is like there's some that you wouldn't expect sometimes to be a compliment. But when you look at it, and some people are like, your sarcasm just cracks me up. Like, I love that kind of humor. That's my kind of humor. I love that. And so there's times in life where we think we don't have something just because it doesn't look like the Disney princess charisma we were shown we would need to be. But really, there's a bunch of people who live by this and they far prefer that. So why this is important, and this is the game changer for me, and this is what I realized early on in my journey, is that because charisma is more about how people feel when they're with you, when they're with me, being more accepting of people, more loving of people, more curious of people actually makes me more charismatic. So if you can imagine, being charismatic is more about how you feel when you're with me. So if I'm more accepting of you, if I'm more loving of you, if I'm more curious about you, that will make me more charismatic to you. Does that make sense? If it's all about how you feel around me. So I have added more feathers to my cap, not so that more people like me, but so that I like people more. Can you feel the subtle difference in that? Because when a person genuinely likes you, you can feel that. And when a person genuinely doesn't like you, doesn't matter how charismatic they're trying to be, you can tell you bug them. You can tell something's off. They don't genuinely want to know much about you. They might fill all the space with things they want to tell you. They might want to impress you. They might want you as a client. They might want you as a something. They'll talk to you. They'll take time with you, but more so for you to like them. And I can tell this immediately. Now, why I love running a program like Charisma to a room like this is because there are different types of human beings on the planet. Now, if you consider yourself an intuitive person in this group, say I or raise your hand. If you feel like you have sharp intuition, right? So this may not work. What I'm talking about right now may not work in a room of, high-powered executives that have left their intuition at the door, that just want to be admired, applauded, validated, told they're great, and that's it. They don't have their intuition switched on. So when someone's kissing their butt, they're like, pucker up, buttercup, this feels good. I don't care if it's smoke. I like it. Say it loud, say it in front of people, and give me a trophy, and I am happy. Let's take a picture. Let me put it on my wall. Great. But the intuitive people, it's not enough. It's not about what it looks like. It's about what it is. I don't care that you tell me I'm great if you're doing it for show. I don't care that you pretend you like me just so that I like you. And I'll feel it. So why this conversation is so important is because charisma means something entirely different to a intuitive person than to a non-intuitive person. It's like, I know you, I feel you, I know this connection is real, or I don't. And so, whereas a lot of the tactics about here's how to be charismatic usually come from either women that have quite a driven masculine energy or men in suits that have left their intuition at the door, it's more about having a good solid handshake. It's about scanning the room. It's about walking like you own the place. It's about speaking loud and being assertive and being funny. Haha, Jim. Yes, that is correct. It's about something that's what it looks like. You gotta look like you got it. And then when you look at people like us that feel it, it's like, that won't fly, 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 that won't fly. We want real, authentic. So any tactic for us actually completely works against us. As a matter of fact, the thing I hear the most for female entrepreneurs that are really doing everything they can to grow businesses is, I've done everything. Have you heard people say this? I've done everything. I've become more confident. I've tried this. I've done that. I've done this. I've done that. Most likely you've done it though it should work because I've done everything right for the way it should look. Everything looks perfect. Why isn't it working? Because for us, it's not about what it looks like. Now, if on top of being an authentic, genuine person that is highly intuitive, your ideal client is the same kind of person, raise your hand. So the person that's going to buy from you is also intuitive and intelligent and genuine. Well, we've got an issue because any kind of tactic you put on will, first of all, be extraordinarily uncomfortable for you. But your clients are going to see right through it too. So there's not much value in it. So I did rack my brain around this quite a little bit because I'm like, what's the key? And so it's like, well, the key is the more liking of people you are, the more accepting of people you are, the more curious about people you are, the more they'll like you because you care about them. So you've got to genuinely learn to be more accepting of people. So what blocks us in doing that? And this is where we'll often bump into a wall of like trauma. I don't like people because people scare me. We'll bump into the feminine wound, the sisterhood wound, the motherhood wound, the comparison, all the things that we realize, oh, I actually often don't like people. It's easier not to, then I know they can't hurt me down the line. So charisma is a mix of two things when it comes to feminine energetics. And feminine energetics works extremely well for men also, I will say. And I've done this work with men throughout my career that has completely changed their lives, because when they become the one actually charismatic person in the room, everyone else's machismo show falls flat. Like, people can tell the difference right away. If they're all the same, you can't tell. But as soon as one comes in, it's like, oh, That's what that feels like. Like if there's a bunch of very, very manly, the stereotypical, we've left our feminine energetics outside and we're all being the most hyped up, charismatic, fake version of us we can be to show who's bigger. And Kevin walks into the room, the whole room changes in 5 seconds. Because it is almost impossible for a man to keep doing that when there's a real one in the room. They'll immediately gravitate to just a little more real. And the same thing happens for us. The only difference is if we haven't worked on our triggers, and this is a very feminine energy wound, if we haven't worked on our triggers, we will end up deciding we don't like the charisma of the person because it makes us feel invalidated. And this is not a thing that is as present in masculine energetics. There's just a different energy. And this is why women are told to be catty and jealous and this and that. It's more like when you see something in someone else that you don't have, it's better to not like what they have so you don't feel like you're missing something. If you realize what they have is beautiful and you don't have it, you might feel less about you. So it's better to not like what they have in the moment and you feel okay. That's a defense mechanism. A lot of women do that. A lot of people who lead in feminine energy do that. And that's where a lot of the gossiping comes from. And that's where a lot of the competition comes from. It's not actually because I genuinely don't like you. It's because I genuinely don't like how I feel about me when I'm with you. You make me realize there's a gap in who I am and I don't know how to handle that gap. So the powerful thing about charisma, and when you decide I want to be more charismatic, is you're not saying I want to be more likable. You're saying I want to like more people so that when I'm around different kinds of people, I don't turn my liking off. And if I don't turn my liking off, then when I'm in a room with people, they feel liked by me genuinely. And then I'm charismatic. It's the only way to bypass all the fakeness is you actually become more accepting and more loving of people. Now, the other part in charisma is this, and this has been one of the most beautiful understandings for me, especially for women, is that we are all very loving. A lot of women are very loving in the sense where we are good at giving love. If you feel that you are good at giving love, raise your hand or say me in the comment section. You're good at giving love. Okay. Now, the thing with charisma, genuine charisma, is it's not about how good you are at giving love. That is actually more the masculine type of charisma. When you say you give a compliment within the first 5 seconds of meeting someone, love your shoes, love this, you try to find something in common so that you give love. Actually, the wildest thing in feminine energetics is it's about intimacy, not love. And the biggest difference between love and intimacy is being loving means you can give love, and intimacy means you're open to receiving love just as much. So if you can imagine, if you have a partner and you love your partner so much, but you feel there's not a lot of intimacy, what's probably happening is that you feel like you can love them, you can do things for them, but as soon as they try to get close to you or show you their love, you start to just, it's good. Just let me love you. Don't. That's what creates the separation. I can love you, just receive the love but just don't try to, you don't need to do anything. Don't do anything for me or don't do anything to me or don't touch me. Don't just take it from over there. And so intimacy is such an important part of charisma because, and I want you to really consider this, if you've ever tried to love someone that you could tell would not receive your love, you'd give them a compliment and they'd be like, no. You would want to take them out somewhere, they won't let you pay. You tell them they're special and they say, stop. You write them a beautiful card and they go, ah, that's so sweet. Like everything you say is not going in. Have you ever met a person like that in your life? Have you ever experienced something like this? How do you feel about you around that person? Like, tell me in the comment sections how you feel. You feel rejected, 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 like playing ball up on a wall, not important. It hurts, you feel cold, sad. It's a closed door. You feel like you're not enough. And so imagine you can give all the love you want. But if the person you're giving it to doesn't receive it, you don't feel love. You feel uncomfortable. You feel like awkward, rejected. Well, okay, never mind then. Like it cuts the relationship right away. You feel weird. You definitely don't feel like it's the opening up of a relationship. It feels like probably things are going to start to go down from there. You might feel defensive, pain, depending on some of the wounds that you have. Now, if you're very honest, I really want you to take a moment for this for yourself. Have you ever rejected someone else's love or gifts or touch or compliments because you just didn't know how else to be? And it felt like if you received it, maybe you'd look like you were something, or you didn't feel good enough, or you didn't feel this, whatever, but you did it and you know it. So do you realize in that moment, whoever you did that to felt all the things that you just said you feel when people do it to you? This is the biggest killer of charisma. Charismatic people in feminine energetics are extraordinary receivers and genuinely like, care for, and are genuinely curious about people, which are the hardest freaking things to be real about. And that is why charisma is something that you may not feel like you have. It is not because it's a roster of jokes you're supposed to nail on the head. It's not because you're supposed to walk into a room like you built the room. It's not because you're supposed to pose for the camera like Marilyn Monroe. It's not because you're supposed to have the it factor and every man falls to his knees in chaos when you enter the room. It's not because women run to you like raving fans and want a signature. It's not because everyone wants to be around you. It's because if they did do that, you'd go and hide in the bathroom and be like, what the heck is wrong with people? It doesn't land. It doesn't land. So in order for us to actually work on your charisma, the two things we're going to look at the most is your ability to receive. And we're really going to crank this thing up during charisma, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to crank up your ability to receive, and you're going to understand the genuine value of it. My intention for you is that never again do you just blindly refuse love, gifts, connections, compliments, time, energy. You'll never refuse that without noticing it ever again. If you ever do, you'll be like, oh, and you'll make it right. But the other part of it, which is so important, is we're going to work on your genuine love and appreciation of other people. Now, I do think that you love and appreciate other people. As a matter of fact, I know you do. However, what gets in the way for us is our charisma quotient. It's our greatest gift and it's our greatest issue. So we're going to dive into this now because this is what starts to pull everything together. So when we look at what most people will say charisma is, one of the biggest things they say is likability. Now, the cheapest way you can take this information is to say, oh, well, if likability is a trait of charisma, then I need to be likable, which means people need to like me. This is what superficial power of deduction looks like. And unfortunately, the world of personal development is riddled with it. It's like 2 + 2 = 5. It looks like it looks like it works. It doesn't really add up, but it sounds good if you say it with confidence. So the key to being charismatic is you got to be likable. So let's make sure everybody likes you. Who here finds intense people-pleasing people charismatic? Who here has found themselves to be an intensely people-pleasing person at times because you're uncomfortable and you don't know what to do, and then wonder why you don't feel charismatic? So the thing is, we're getting the information wrong because we're getting it on a superficial level. So here's the depth of the conversation. Let's say, for example, you have a waiter. You're sitting at a restaurant and the waiter comes to you and the waiter is like, hello, welcome to the restaurant. My name is Melanie. I'm going to be your server today. Is there anything I can get for you? Would you like some water, perhaps some sparkling water? Are we not doing that? What can I get you an appetizer? Are you very hungry? Should we hurry up the kitchen? What would you like? I'd like another waitress, if at all possible. This is gonna be a long dinner. Like, oh no. There is a difference between a person who just wants you to like them and will do anything for you to like them versus a person who genuinely cares about your well-being. And so you sit down and they say, hey, you guys, welcome. It's good to see you. What can I get you? And you say, just water to start with. Yes, absolutely. Promptly and very quickly, you get water right away. You say, whoa, that was fast. Thank you so much. I say, of course, I got you. Do you already know what you need or do you want a minute? No, we'll take a minute to think about it. Perfect. I'll circle back. Let me know. Every time this person passes by the table, they look at you. Good. Then eventually they pass by, they look at you, you're like, we're ready. Yes. What can I get you? Well, you know, what do you recommend for cocktails? Oh gosh, my favorite one is this one. I love this and I love that. Okay, perfect. We'll try one of those. Excellent choice. Within moments, your cocktails arrive. Enjoy, you guys. If you need anything, I'll be near. You like that waiter. Why? Because he's just doing what he's got to do. Because he just makes sure you get what you need. Because you don't need to be likable for people to like you. You just need to be doing what you've got to do with a good attitude, efficiently, with no BS. Now, if things progress and they're just like, okay, so are we ready for some food? Yes. Okay. What would you like? And then the food comes. Can I get you some, salt and pepper? Yeah. Okay. They get everything figured out for you. And then you realize you like the waiter. You might start being really friendly to the waiter. You might start making jokes with the waiter. You might start connecting with the waiter. What often happens for Kevin and I is around the main course, if we like our waiter, we become friends with the waiter. But it happens around the main course. That's when it happens. At first, it's like, let's see how long they can keep it cool. But if at the main course, they've gone through drinks, water, appetizers, and we're at the main and they've delivered the main and they're still cool, efficient, no mistakes in the orders, they care, they're focused. Conversation's probably going to start to open. And I can't tell you how often, if we go back to the restaurant the second time, waiter's like, hey, you guys come sit down. And then from the beginning, what can I get you? And then there is that kindness and that friendliness, but it makes sense that it's there because we already like each other. The only person I feel happy being that happy to see me is a person who knows me. Most people are just so happy to see you because they hope you're going to give them a big tip. And they read in a book somewhere that if they're likable, you're going to like them. So they're like me, let me get you water and sing and dance at the same time so you think I'm lovely. Can I get you something else? A back scratch, something of such? Like, just all is well. But we like to become friends. We love to become friendly, but you don't even know me. Why you want to be friends with me? Because you want a tip, because you want to be liked, because you want, and that is the immediate feeling when someone is overdoing it, is like, what do you want from me? So the difference between I want you to like me and I want your well-being is huge. When you think about when you were a little kid, there were two kinds of adults. There were the adults that wanted you to like them. Hello. How are you? How old are you? If you have kids, you see people do this to your kids and you're like, they won't like you if you do that. They already don't like you. This is not the way. You're in trouble. Oh, this is bad. And then there's the people who treat your kids like genuine grown-up people or real people. And they're just like, hey, and they're just genuine with them. And the kids tend to gravitate to them and love it. But the minute a grown-up kneels forward and puts on that dumb face, the kid's like, oh no. Or if you got a smart one, they're like, what am I going to get out of this one? But there's no genuine connection most of the time, because it's like, I want you to like me. I want you to like me does not go far. I like you goes far. And I like you is real and genuine. And all it takes for you to actually feel good with a person is for them to genuinely enjoy your presence. Genuinely enjoy your presence. You can't fake this. This is why we've got a whole program to talk about it. Okay. So we are going to break down, and now I'm going to share something else with you though. Let's say, for example, you walk into a restaurant that's like 100% carnivore. Like there's not one vegetable on the menu. The whole thing is carnivore diet. It's meat on meat on meat on meat. Everyone that works there are on a carnivore diet. You're on a carnivore diet. When you walk in, they like you right away. Why? Because most likely you like what they like. That happens. You walk into a CrossFit gym and it looks like you've been in a CrossFit gym before. You might click very fast with a person. Why? Because it's specialized and it's very rapid. It's like we click right away. You walk into a vegan restaurant. Everybody there is vegan. The whole concept is vegan. You might have, it might click faster. So when you've got specialization, sometimes it is possible that things click faster because you've got something in common. When you're on vacation, sometimes something clicks faster because people assume you're on vacation right away and they're like, hey, where are you guys from? And it opens up a conversation right away. Where this is the most odd is when it's just like you're at TGI Fridays in the mall strip and the person coming to you is coming to you as if you're the Queen of England and she's never been more excited to see a person in their entire life. And you're like, everything about this is incorrect. Why? And I've said this before, and this is tough to hear, but nice is an energetic match for minimum wage. Nice people are not charismatic. People assume they don't have boundaries. People assume they're not good at their job. People assume everything not good. It's like all they've got is nice, so they better be. Kind is a big step up. Kind means don't mess with me, but also how can I help you? There's got to be more to us than just being liked in this life, or else we diminish ourselves so small that there's nothing left to us. So I want to revive a lot of your magic that has nothing to do with you being nice. And I want to have you understand that you are likable, not because you're being nice. You're likable because people genuinely like exactly what it is that you are. Whether you're a sassy pants, sarcastic, like hilarious person, or whether you're a visionary leader, there are people on the planet that are like, that's my person. And when you start actually appreciating that and receiving the love from the people who genuinely love the way you are, your life starts to change so fast it makes your head spin. So the first thing I want you to acknowledge in this moment is that there's people who really like you the way that you are. And that's not a superficial thing that people say, you're perfect just the way you are. Not like that. Like genuinely, there are people, if they could pick a lineup of people, you would be the one. They'd be like, give me the sarcastic person, give me the funny person, give me the sassy person, give me the charming person, give me the kind person, give me this person. One person would choose you above everybody else, regardless of your character traits. But what we tend to do is look at the people who wouldn't choose us and make ourselves wrong. That is one of the most immature things that we can do, but it's because the first time we were raised, there was a very small pool of people and their parents told them how to behave. So now nobody's parents telling them how to behave. They have a choice what they like. You are people's choice. If you can lead with that and receive that, you're going to go so much further in this program. So one thing to really make peace with is like, I will not remove any part of me. I will not compromise any part of myself for another person's approval or validation. I will not try to change or eradicate a part of me for something I imagine is better. I'm done with that. But I will add things I think are cool. But my personality is fantastic. Now, there's a difference between your personality and your identity. So your self-deprecating, I suck at life thing, you can still leave that in the identity program. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you're humble, you're genuine, you're kind, you're sassy, those things. Personality traits. Don't ever again consider getting rid of any of them. Instead, we're going to widen your range. So this is all going to start to continue to make sense. Let me keep adding to this. So there are different traits that make up charismatic people. And I find that there is kind of like a range. So I'm going to give you 8 of them, and I can kind of see 4 ranges. So there's curious people and confident people. So when you're curious, you're open, you're asking questions, you're all about it. When you're confident, you're certain. So you're not as much curious. But there are people who are both confident and curious. They have both. What happens when you're confident and curious is your charisma quotient in this place starts to stretch. So you are now going to touch all the people who consider themselves to be confident and curious. So who in this program sees themselves as confident and curious? Raise your hand if you feel that you are confident and curious. Perfect. So for you guys, when I'm in my effortless zone of I'm super confident, but I'm also super curious, you like me the most. Without knowing why, this is just how you feel, because you feel like you're like me. Just it feels comfortable. It's like that ratio is my ratio. So this is good. Now, who here would see themselves as more confident? So not so much curious, and maybe you even tell yourself sometimes I should work on this, but I'm more like when I know, like I'm going, I'm not questioning anything, like I go. So who feels more like that? More confidence. Okay, so Lacey says me. Nick as well. So when I'm in my confidence, you're more drawn to me. And the perfect example of this is I went live with my sassy pants energy, and Nick jumps into AFE on the back end of that live stream. She's like, that's what I value. Thank you very much. All the same. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Because that's the energy. So when I'm in my confidence, Nick and I bond the most. It's like, I love when you do that. So you might find yourself, Nancy, Aten, Sandy, Nick, Lacey, when I'm in my zone, you're like, I love it when you do that. You find yourself really wanting to encourage it and be like, yes, I love it. Now, who here is a little more on the other side? Curious. You wouldn't really say you're confident, but you're curious and you're learning and you're open and you're inquisitive and you're more in that. So Anne-Claire, let's see, Anne-Claire, Karen, Wendy, Leah, Sophie, Kimberly, Spring, Marta, Fran, Dominica, Kim. So a lot of people here, more on the curious side. So for you, it is possible that when I go into that confidence part, you're like, I like it, but please come back. I like it. I don't mind it. Because I know that you're kind, because I've felt it. But also, I like it when you're nice to us and when you ask us questions and when you bring people up and when you talk to them and when we can talk to you like that. I really prefer. Like, I feel good. I feel a lot better when we're just nice than together. So if I were to just be confident all the time, a lot of my clients would probably feel less drawn to me. If I was only curious all the time, some of my clients would feel less drawn to me. Because I have this range, it makes it that I can be a match for so many more people because I'm willing to stretch my quotient in this one area of charisma. Now, there's a pro and a con of this. When your charisma quotient is small, you have less magnetism. So another part of what people tend to say about charismatic people is they're very magnetic. So when your charisma quotient is very small, you're less magnetic to a big range of people. So you will tend to magnetize people that are exactly like you. So if you can relate to this, when I first started my journey, I was more sassy than I am now. And some of you saw it in ID. Someone posted a video of me in like 2019, and I'm giving it to people. Like I'm in a vibe. And so Sassy Pants McGee shows up and I've got this attitude and I'm a match for the people who can handle that. And as I start to actually fall in love with people and to work on my heart and develop my ability to care and to be curious and to genuinely love people, my charisma quotient starts to stretch. And people that would not have been interested back then now start to listen. They find me more grounded. They find me more calm. They find me more understanding, more open, more curious, more willing to learn, more mature. All these other qualities start to be a part of me. And so all of a sudden I become a match for more people. But as you become a match for more people find you. And the people that reside outside the two lines of your charisma quotient become increasingly annoyed that you exist. It's a better way that you can explain this. And so the people who are extremely, extremely curious about life are extremely curious about, so is Alpha Femme a cult? So then why is it that you sell this? Shouldn't you give it for free? So I'd like to see all your financial statements. And I'd also love you to tell me where you give every single dollar, how much you did. They're very curious people. They're extremely curious. And that rubs against my charisma quotient. This is where you lose me, right here. So here, I don't have an effortless likability. And it's more difficult for me to also like here. So I don't like you, but you don't like me. Now, when you're caught up in charisma as everybody needs to like me, you're going to get really upset that this person doesn't like you. But when you understand that charisma is also how much I'm able to like people, and you realize, yes, but I also don't like this person, you can let it go because you're like, we don't have the same charisma quotient. They're probably operating outside the range entirely. There's a whole other range outside of you. Then there's the other side. There's the super confident people who will say, you call this sassy? This was not sassy. This was borderline. This was not, what do you mean this is sassy live? You're so vanilla. You want to see a sassy live? Watch this, watch this, watch this. You're so bland. This was not confident. This is what confidence looks like. Why don't you swear? You never give it. I don't trust people who don't swear. Why don't you? Because I rub them the wrong way. Because this is not quite ballsy enough. This is not quite edgy enough for them. I am not there where they value power, confidence, whatever it is. There's a range far on the other side. So when you look at where you range between confidence and curiosity, that's your charisma quotient. And the more people you touch in that range, the more magnetic you are to those people, the more likable you are to those people. Not because you did something for them to like you, but because they feel like they belong effortlessly with you. Now, when you need to be liked by everyone, it's going to be very difficult to accept that there's people outside on one side that think that you're not cool enough and not confident enough. And there's people on the other side that think that you're not curious enough and that you're too confident and that you don't listen to people. It's going to be difficult to even consider that there's people that don't like you because you're like, look at the span. Like I'm making such an incredible effort. Like look at my wingspan. I've grown so much. It doesn't mean anything. The only thing you've got to ask yourself is this: am I willing to like those people just a little bit more? Am I willing to get curious about those people just a little bit more? Am I interested to care about what they care about? Because if you're not interested to like them a little bit more, to be curious a little bit more, or to care about what they care about, then you don't get to need them to like you. This is where the world is starting to get all messed up. People want to throw shade on the internet and get likes on the internet on the same day. It's like, either this is about genuinely loving and accepting people, and then they genuinely love and accept you, Or you decide how far you want to go in your range, and you have declared where that range ends. And the people outside of your range of liking them feel it and don't like you back. That's okay. If we are powerful, mature, capable human beings, this is the simplest concept. But when we are in our trauma, our remembering being picked on, our not belonging, we are going to look for the one person in the whole room that doesn't like us, the one person that challenges everything we believe in. It's like they're just in a different, they have a completely different everything than me. If they hosted a dinner party, I wouldn't feel like I belonged. So why am I needing them to like me right now? Unless I'm willing to be curious about them, genuinely like them, genuinely care about what they're talking about. So you have two options. When a person comes to you and they're mad about something, so they think you're not good enough to say you're confident, or you're not confident, or whatever. They make a dig at your confidence. You have two choices. You get mad at them, or you get curious. And you say, whoa, there must be a different level of confidence. Let me look this up. Who is this person? What do they value? What you might find, and this happens quite often, is that the person that just absolutely destroyed you in the comment section has something in their bio like peace, love, and Jesus, and that's very confusing. And then when that does happen, you can be like, maybe they're just having a bad day. Let's just let that one go. But also what will happen sometimes is you'll go and find that person's bio, and they will be like, fight against the system. Like, do not tolerate this, standing against blah, 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 blah. And you're going to see what kind of power or confidence they value. They're okay to the limit of maybe even bullying if they think something is incorrect. Like, they will stand. So you're like, okay, we are not in the same zone. And I'm not curious. That is my boundary. I wouldn't want to like that. I wouldn't want to accept that. This is me. I know that. I'm clear. In which case you got to let it go, because I don't like you either. I don't bond with you either. I'm not magnetized to you either. But what we want to do, to go back to identity work, is to vilify them and say, you're wrong and I'm right. You're bad and I'm good. I'm so glad I'm me because I'd hate to be you. Instead of as simple as, this is outside my charisma quotient. Because there are other people who will absolutely say that that is one of the most charismatic persons that they know. The most confident, well-spoken, strong leader. But what do they value? Everything on the other side of what you're no longer interested in. So even the thing of like, haters are going to hate, or people are just dumb, or, eagles fly with turkeys. We want to be careful with that, because the fact is that still puts in that we're right and they're wrong. And in that energy, there's still a fight. Instead of a very clear, this is just outside my zone. Like, I don't value it. I don't know anything about it. I've never studied it. I don't care to. I don't care to be curious. I don't care to find out. So how can I judge all of this? It doesn't even matter to judge. It's just like, this is outside the zone. This is what I'm focused on. I don't like that. So it doesn't matter. Now, when we look at a different kind of range, so this is the, let's say, curiosity and confidence. Then there's like, or even not even confidence. You know what's a better duo is curiosity and conviction. Let's go with that. Curiosity and conviction. And then let's say when you're thinking about confidence, the other side of confidence might be courage. So you're either confident or you're courageous. So when you look at that spectrum, so if we're looking at conviction, some people who are super convinced about what they're talking about will bug you. You'll be like, I don't like that. They feel pushy. But you'll realize that you're not 100% convinced in anything right now. And so the more conviction they have in an area, the more they bug you, because makes you remember you're not convinced in the things that you're standing for. And it's like, it feels arrogant to me. It feels pushy to me. It feels annoying. It feels all these things. But it's like, to other people, that's the only kind of conviction they'll ever work with. And they'll say that you're a soppy, wet sack of noodles. And be like, excuse me, I'm not a sappy, wet sack of noodles. Well, you want to see what conviction looks like to me? Like, it doesn't matter. If you look at then courage and confidence. So you might say, I'm just brave. I go do brave things. And other people will say, unless I know for sure, I'm not doing it. Well, I'm brave. I value courage. Well, I think you're stupid. You know, I need to know for sure. Well, I think that you are, you know, stuck in your own ways and pig-headed. There's a spectrum. You've got to be able to navigate the spectrum. And so I'm going to give you the 8, and you're going to find for yourself, because I kind of play with these, but these are the 8 that I've really found considering and contemplating charisma that I feel are the 8 that really stand out for me. So curiosity, courage, confidence, conviction, compassion, care, connection, and currency. And I'm going to break them all down one at a time. Wow, Wendy, you can type fast. Wendy has wrote them down for us. Thank you so much. That's awesome. And so we're gonna work through all of them, and we're gonna kind of look at them to see what they mean. And you're gonna figure out for you. You might find the pairs are different based on what you make them mean. But here's what I see. So for those of you who've done the currency program with me, what currency means is your self-worth, your self-value. Whereas your courage is more your abilities, what you think you can do. Your worth and what you think you're capable of are very different. Like, you were born worthy and nothing has changed, but you're not very confident in playing the piano. Those are two very different things. Then I think curiosity is pretty standard, courage pretty standard, confidence pretty standard, conviction pretty standard. Then there's compassion and care. And so compassion and care are, and connection. And here's the differences between these 3. Care is genuine, easy care. Like, you see a person that needs help with their bags and you're a caring person, you'll be like, oh, let me help you with that. You don't necessarily need to get into your whole compassion for their situation. Like, oh my gosh, imagine having this many groceries walking down the street and you're alone. Like, you don't necessarily need to do that. You can just be like, oh, person, too many groceries, let me help. Care. Like, you're right there. Whereas compassion is more like, you can put yourself in a person's situation. You're able to say, if this were me, you're able to forgive, you're able to really put yourself in a person's place. There's a lot of empathy there. It's very like, I get it. With care, it can be, I don't get it, but I care. I don't need to get it to care. I hate that this is happening to you. I don't know anything about it, but I am right here with you. And connection is more the feeling of, I know, like, it doesn't need to be a deep friendship, but you know people in different places and there's a vibe very fast. So for example, halfway through lunch, halfway through dinner, I like the waiter. I have that connection ability. And then the waiter might say, have you ever been to blah, blah, blah place? Have you ever been there for food? It's amazing. I think you guys would love it based on what you've ordered here. I'll put a good word in for you. And then next thing you know, we're introduced to another restaurant and the waiter there is already excited to see us because we're friends with the waiter that we liked at the other restaurant. And that connection happens quickly and we have a great time there. And then they're like, you know what you would really like? You would like this, and I'll send you over there and you'll have a great time. And the next thing, there's champagne on the table and we're like, what the heck is happening? 2 connections down and all of a sudden we're getting free champagne. And now we're being sent over to a hotel and then we're getting a free this. And it's like, what? This is getting so big so fast. Like, what's happening? All connection. Because people who compound connection, when it's like a friend of a friend of a good friend of a great friend of all of a sudden your family when you walk through the door. That is an incredible charismatic gift. But it comes with the ability to pick up with someone with the undertone of just, I should like you. So I do. I don't need to test. I'm not afraid. I don't need to make sure that you're not going to hurt me. It's like I'm in to be connected with people. I don't I don't fear people. I'm open for connection. And so we're going to work on all of these to a certain extent and to a certain limit. But you're going to see like sometimes connection and compassion are opposites because unless I really get you, I can't connect versus I connect with everyone. Some people will be like, why do you care about me? You don't even know me. Other people will be like, yes, of course I know you. You're friends with blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, I know that you're friends with blah, 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 but that doesn't make me like you. It's weird. Like different people have different reactions to certain things. So, and the other thing is like genuine care and currency. So when you care about a person and or currency, when you care about yourself and you value yourself, this is a big one that creates charisma blowouts, especially on the internet. I've actually had big issues with this. It's like people will think if you celebrate yourself and you have high value for yourself and you see your worth and you see your value, that you probably don't care about other people, that you're self-centered and you're egotistical and you don't care about anybody else. And then they'll say, and then people who really value, people who value themselves will see you be caring and give to everybody else. Just be like, ah, that's a people pleaser. They don't care about themselves. They just overdo it. They're not strong enough to, hold their own. And so when we stretch the charisma quotient, when we stretch from these basically these four dualities, when we're saying, I can be curious and in conviction at the same time. I can be confident and courageous at the same time. I can be caring and have full currency at the same time. I can have connection and compassion at the same time. And how far can I stretch? And what are my edges? And then I make peace with everything outside my edges, because as much as I would love to be liked by everyone, I genuinely don't like everyone. But what a lot of us do, and this is the greatest mistake, is whenever people voice to us the part about us that they don't like, we see it like a loaf of bread that you can just cut the crust off. It's like, oh, you don't like my conviction? Oh, let me just slice the crust off of the side of my conviction for you. But then the same thing happens with the people at this level of conviction. And they're like, you don't have this conviction? Why don't you have this conviction? You should have this conviction. Then you're like, okay, I need to have more conviction. You're too soft. Okay, I'm gonna cut the side of this part of the crust off. I'm just cut a little bit of my curiosity off, and I'll feel like I'm a little bit more convinced. Oh, let me just cut this little slice off of me. Let me just slice this part off of me so that I fit more in your mold. And let me just slice this part. And then we just become the smallest version of us that wished more people liked them. It's always about more. If you want more people to like you, like more people. If you don't want to like more people, get over it that more people don't like you. Because it does not make sense in authentic, genuine charisma to want people to like you when you don't like them. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. It's not right. It doesn't make sense. And this is what this bites people in the butt all the time. People say, oh my gosh, it's so great to see them. They turn around, they're like, oh, that person annoys me so much. How long you think that relationship lasts? Not long. And then so curious, I wonder why that person doesn't like me, because everything has an energetic match. They're the energetic match to you without other person. The gossiping, the pretending, just so that you get the like. This is what's breaking things right now. Because honestly, nothing hurts more than a person that pretended to like you. It's like, why? Might as well have just not liked me. And let's be honest about things. I might have valued your bluntness. We might have ended up finding our way back. And that does happen. When I don't try to cut my crusts off, it does happen that people be like, the first time I met you, I didn't like you because I thought that you were all about yourself, super self-centered, always talking about you, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, is this going somewhere nice or should I leave? And they're like, no. But what I want to tell you is that once I started to get to know you, I realized you're actually a really nice person. I'm like, oh, shocking. But now I really like you. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good. But people will tell me this. When I first met you, I just thought you were all la la la, kumbaya, everybody love each other, and that there was no substance to you. And then I watched one of your lives where you really stood up for yourself, and I heard something, and I was like, this person has a lot of power. And now I respect you. But what would have happened if I would have cut the crusts off and just shrunk a little bit and a little bit and a little bit? What I've done throughout my career, and this has actually been the hardest thing, this is why I value my programs like Femme Fatale, even though they're not the ones where you come in and do Femme Fatale so that you become a millionaire. Those are actually the ones that change people, because ultimately I have had so much judgment, and I've asked myself if it's worth liking them, forgiving them, finding out about them, finding out about their angle, learning, listening. When people said, "Oh, I don't like you because you're this," I didn't say, "No, I'm not." I said, "How do you see that?" I got curious. I paid attention. I pivoted. I course corrected. I created new skills. I found a way to have compassion for them. I found a way to have care for them. And then my quotient grew. And this is the thing I think a lot of us is missing, is the ability to say, if I can be curious, caring, compassionate about you, I'm actually growing my quotient. So instead of receiving anger from someone and immediately cutting them off along with a piece of my crust to be a little bit less shiny and a little bit less bold and a little bit less something, I took the time to reflect, to then eventually be able to become more curious, more compassionate, more caring, and I stretched my charisma. What this means now is that in a room, an alpha femme room, there is so much diversity in the people that are here. It's incredible. I have stretched my quotient so much that you can be in a room and be like, how are there so many super confident people here and also people who are terrified all in the same room? How does that work? I think these are the kinds of rooms that are going to change the world. Because the magic is you being in a room where I have a big quotient actually stretches yours. If you have kids, when you stretch your quotient, your kids' quotient stretches. Same thing with your partner, same thing with your friends, same thing with your clients. Like, as you become more charismatic, more loving, more accepting, more curious about people, you actually encourage that thinking in other people. Like, well, if Melanie values this person, I could get curious about this person. If Melanie's a match for this person, I could get curious for this person. If mom likes this person, I could get curious about this person. If my best friend likes this person, I could get curious about this person. And we start to stretch. In the same way, unfortunately, that we'll say, well, if that person hates that person, then maybe I should. If that person can't handle that kind of person, then maybe I should. And if that person doesn't like that person, then maybe I should. And we actually diminish also based on the non-charismatic people we have in our lives. And so this is another one of those like stereotypical sentences that are used incorrectly, where it's like you become the 5 people you hang out with the most. And everybody's like, if you're not a millionaire, you're not my friend. Okay, whoa. That's not what it means. But it does mean that if the 5 people you hang out with the most have very small quotients, are constantly judging other people, you will start to shrink without knowing it. If the 5 people you hang out with are curious, compassionate, caring, all of a sudden, you're going to start to grow. And you know this is true because when you tell your kids, I don't want you hanging out with that kind of person, they have a bad influence on you, that's exactly what you mean. When they're with that kid, they're a little less kind. They're a little less compassionate. They're a little less curious. They have conviction and stuff without knowing what they're talking about. They're not asking questions anymore. You're seeing them shrink. Whereas with another kid, it's like, I love when you're with that kid because you're caring, you're so kind, you ask questions, there's all this stuff about you. And so it's not like there's good people and bad people necessarily, although that's debatable. But what we're talking about here is who stretches your quotient. And the fact is, if you are super self-led, anyone can stretch your quotient. Anyone, even the people who are doing things that make you feel bad, even the people who you find are rude and abrasive and wrong, because we don't just learn through validation. We don't just decide who we are based on I agree. We also decide who we are based on I don't agree. And so I have had people be very attacking in their way of communicating with me. And although I could be curious about what their approach and what they were saying, it also made me very clear about the kind of care I wanted to bring forward. It's like maybe they had confidence I could value, but it made me stretch my care to be able to hold the way they were showing up. I became a better person twice over because I got curious, because something they were saying had value, and because I realized I preferred my way of being caring. I stretched twice. Whereas a lot of people might stretch 0 times. They would reject the information because it doesn't come in a caring way. And they would immediately find something to dislike about that person because they're attempting to invalidate how they feel, in which case they would bring their kindness down. So their care would go down and their curiosity would go down. When you value your charisma, you realize anything that comes into your machine can grow it because you're the one that stretches the quotient. And what I found is this: the bigger your charisma quotient, the easier it is for you to connect with people with bigger charisma quotients. So I don't necessarily value just confidence. I'm not going to look at a person and say, oh, you're confident, I value you. I will more so intuitively like your range. I'll be like, I love the range of you. I love how diverse, how big, how different, how comfortable you are being all of you. And we don't realize that's what we're doing because there are specific things and we're always trying to figure things out. We're human beings. And so what we tend to do is say, I love your courage. But it's like, I don't just love your courage, because we could be sitting eating a muffin. It doesn't take much courage to do that. And I'm enjoying you. So what else do I like? I love your growth. I love your charisma. I love how much you value, how much love you have, how much genuine care you have, how much curiosity you have, as well as how much confidence and conviction you have. I love that you're both. The more we stretch, the greater we become. So why does this work so well with what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation is most people will do one or the other. They'll say, I don't want to be curious. I want to be confident. Curiosity comes from not being sure. I want to be sure. I want conviction. I'm sick of caring about people anymore. I always get taken for granted. I don't want to care about people anymore. I want more currency. And you start to cut the crust instead of just stretch the quotient. And you become less of who you were. And that part is always supposed to be a part of you. And so you're incomplete because you're cutting off parts you actually needed, that belonged to you, that other people value. There are people that no longer have access to you when you cut the care because someone else hurt your feelings. When you cut the compassion because someone took advantage, you cut the crust off. You just also cut the access to very valuable, important people in your life. I believe it's the journey of a lifetime to stretch your quotient as far as it can possibly go. Like, I'm not the Dalai Lama. I still have people where I'm like, like it happens to me. But when you look at the people who have been just like almost like a saint, like, Jesus walks, is because their quotient was everything. It's like, I can love you, I can accept you no matter what. That's big. I don't expect right now that any of us has that right now. But if we can stretch it double than where we are, double the connections, double the opportunities, double the magnetism, double the likability, double everything. But you never get there by cutting something off. You only get there by stretching your charisma quotient. Any part of you think by cutting off my kindness, I'll look more confident. I'll look more convicted. I'll look like I have more conviction, but it's never about what it looks like. It's about what it is. And so you will see women cut their care, cut their compassion in order to look more confident and more convinced in what they're doing. so that they appear more a certain way. That's not charisma. That is the masculine approach where you've got to then work really, really hard to make up for everything you just cut off. Let me see this question. Where does intuition sit in this when someone feels off? Oh, someone feels off, someone feels off. But there's a difference between this person feels off and they're a jerk and I hate them and they don't deserve anything and they blah, 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 which is what most people will do. Where you're just like, I don't jive with that person. Who knows? Maybe in the future it'll change. I don't really know them. But from a first impression, I don't feel a connection. That's not how people talk. People say, cannot stand that person. You know what bugs me about this person the most? The way they blah, 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 blah. Or, someone doesn't sit well with you and then you be rude back. Instead of it just being like, it's a shame because usually I click with a lot of people, but there's just something with this person that's just not right for me. And I'm not closed off forever. You never know. But just right now, it just doesn't feel like something I want to pursue. Do you think that a mind once stretched can ever return to its original dimension? Can it retract? And how do we continually keep expanding? When I say in my programs, life can never be the same after you've had a conversation like this is what I mean. After today, it'll be a choice. So it'll never be able to retract to exactly what it was when it didn't know. But you could act as though you don't know. You could put your fingers in your ears and say, la, la, don't remember Melanie ever saying anything about any of this. I'm allowed to be as sassy and rude and mean to this kind of person because they're getting on my nerves. I'm allowed. I didn't hear it. It doesn't exist. Like, you can do that. But the truth is, it'll still be there. You can't unknow it. So it's like, now that I understand what charisma really is, if I go out there and I start to pretend that I'm likable to get a person to buy my thing, there'll be something in the pit of my stomach that goes, this is why it's not working. You know this. Instead of, I wonder why it's not working. When you go on a date and you're like, instead of being genuine and there's no connection and you're like, gosh, I wonder why that didn't work. I was being so likable. You'd be like, I know why. I was just too afraid to actually test what I learned. So it's not possible for the door, if we're going to call it the door, it's not possible for the door to ever be unopened again. It's not possible for it to be a door that's never been opened again because it's been open, but you can still close the door and never go back in that room, but it will still have been opened. Your mind will still have been stretched. Even if you never use the stretch ever again, you can't unstretch it. Let me see. You sound like you're saying charisma quotient. Q-U-O quotient. T-I-E-N-T quotient. Charisma quotient. But I like charisma potion. How do we make us some of that? I feel like we all need a small vial of that just in case, if ever. And now, so here's the other thing, like boundaries. So charismatic people have boundaries. That's the charisma quotient. And we're going to go deeper into this because what we've looked at right now are really the de charisma by Alpha Femme. And what we want to look at is there's going to be so many intricacies to this. And we're going to go into more like character traits. Because you're going to find that there's different ways to be confident. And there's different ways to be curious. And there's different ways to be caring. And there's different ways. And so this is like the first look into what we're doing. And we're going to go deeper and deeper into the kaleidoscope we go. But the first thing I want you to consider at this point is just this. Charisma is not something that you do for people to like you. Charisma is your ability to like people and to actually receive their like when they like you back. That is charisma. It is the most genuine, authentic, real thing that exists. You can't fake it. That's why most people don't have it. Not because they can't have it, because they're trying to cheapen it and pretend like that's it. And it doesn't work. You either work at it and you build it, or you don't. But you cannot fake charisma, especially not for intuitive people. And if you are an intuitive person selling to intuitive people, your goose is cooked. If you try any of the bro style, and then don't look to the left, shake their hand with just enough pressure and give them a compliment about their shoes. Like, that is just not going to fly with your, priestess magical from another planet unicorn client that can literally smell Mercury in retrograde. Like, there's just no way that that's going to fly. So the more genuine, the more real, the further we go. Plus, one of them is pretending to be something, to get something, and the other one is genuinely becoming more, and your life changes. Of course, we're talking about this one. Of course, we're talking about this one. So as we're talking about this, we're saying the more I'm able to care about people and be curious about people and like people, the more I'm going to receive that. But then I also need to be able to receive that. And what helps me do that is my understanding of my charisma quotient and people's charisma quotient and who's an energetic, effortless match for me. And if there's something I'd like to add, I can add it, but there's nothing wrong with me that needs to be cut off. As a matter of fact, stretching on both ends is the greatest thing I could possibly do for myself. That's where we're at so far in the program. Let's see. Do you work with each C with another C and then move through them? So curiosity. What I did today is I gave you 4 opposites that I can see very clearly. If you want to contemplate these tonight and look at them and say, you know what, I can see how these and this one could even be an issue together. This one and this one can bump heads. Why I want you to think about it, and I didn't want to dissect it too far. I gave you my contemplations so that you could take time to think about it too. The idea and the issue with us, especially for the feminine energetics, the people who are very emotional, intuitive, attraction of people, like the ones that are in the energetics zone, is that if you need validation, same as what we were saying about in identity work, if you need validation, when this person has a different kind of charisma than you might completely poo-poo that kind of charisma just because you don't think you have it. Like, I don't like super confident people, they bug me. Instead of let me get curious about confidence so that I can understand how that is valuable, so that I can like confident people, because I think it would be very valuable to me and to them if I learned how to like and enjoy them, because I've just decided that I don't like confident people because they invalidate what I think is an ability for me to be confident. There's a maturity in this. Instead of just saying, I don't like that because I don't think I am that, and it invalidates my experience of being me, I say, wonder why that irks me. Let me be more curious about that. Let me see if I can enjoy confident people a little bit more. And then you might see, oh, it's not confident people. It's this specific type of confident person. But I'm putting everyone in the same basket. When I see this confident person on social media, I immediately attach that they're probably a jerk. And if I spent time with them, I wouldn't like it. So let me detach that, because I might actually do really well in business with this person. This might actually be the wife of my next client. This might actually be the mother of my next client or the daughter of my next client. Like, I don't know who these people are. I'm deciding I don't like them. They could be the gateway to the next thing for me. So it's opening up your mind. So if you notice that you value deep care for people, and that makes it that people with conviction are people you don't like because it feels like they don't care about other people's opinion, maybe you made that connection. If you are a very confident person and you don't love super compassionate people because they feel like they're always questioning your confidence, and they're like, but what about the people who think this, and what about the people, and you're like, let me just be confident in my stance, please. Like, stop just caring so much about every other person that I can't just be certain about something I want to be certain about. Like, you might notice different people invalidate what you'd like to just be able to do. And then you think, I don't like that kind of person so much. But if you like them, we can open up and there's a chance they might like you. That's what charisma is about. And then if they did like you, would you believe it? Would you be able to receive it? Or would you be like, well, they probably don't like me. They're probably just acting like they like me in order to get something, which is what most people also think. So we need both. We need to stretch in both areas. I don't like certain people because that type of person hurt me in the past. That also happens. And so this is why the femme fatale work the resolution revolution work, the mid-year manifesto work, when we're literally letting go, forgiving, cleansing, saying, I need to move on from this person having hurt me, or else I am diminishing my charisma quotient because of one person who hurt my feelings. I'm cutting off an entire leg of human being, of magnetism, of likability, of opportunities, of everything to try to avoid a replica of what one person did. I am shrinking myself. So I've got to forgive this person to get myself back. Forgiveness is a for me, for you, for us thing. Careful, the value isn't equated to what the relationship can do for you, i.e. next client. Now, yes and no. So I'm going to be honest about this. The bigger the why, the easier the how. Okay. So when we first started this, it's going to be a little more difficult for some of you. You're going to have certain people, certain traits that you're like, I just rather not have those people. It'll be hard to even have a reason. At first, if you have, I'm not going to say a superficial reason, but if you have a reason that's not just for the good of the planet, if you have a reason that's like, look, I could be cutting myself off. My next partner could be attached to this person. My next business person could be attached to this person. This could end up being like, I'm rude to a person on the internet, and then I meet this incredible best friend, and then I go to her house for Thanksgiving, and it's her sister. Oh, like, I don't know who I'm talking to, you know? Sometimes it helps to give yourself a real tangible thing. So when you're saying, got to be nice because I want a client, that's different than I've got to be careful because this person could be the daughter of my next client. Realize how I didn't say this person could be your next client. They could be the daughter of your next client. They could be someone that you eventually cares about them. That's where I like to go. And I often do that. When I have a person that bugs me, like if I'm at the grocery store and I get a really rude person in front of me or behind me, I breathe and I say, for all I know, this could be one of my AFE's sisters. And I don't know. This could literally be somebody that I love. They love them. So I don't know everybody who's connected to everybody. Let me just breathe. You don't know. And so if you care about people and you love people, you don't know if this person you're choosing not to like is actually connected to someone you love. And I feel like that's a great opener for me. Confident people intimidate me as I'm not to their standard. So what you might look at is to say, if someone felt intimidated by my kindness because they weren't to my standard, how would I feel about that? Like, try to bring it to what your value is. How would you feel comfortable or happy that they feel uncomfortable or not good enough in your presence? Or would you want to invite them into that energy, into that care? Would you believe in their ability to access it? You kind of look at what you've got and look at what you lack, and you say, gosh, those people probably would be like, girl, you get to be confident. You're this and you're that, and probably pump you up in the same way where you'd say, you can be caring, you can be vulnerable, you're going to be okay. It's this is where the contemplation comes from. You're making me realize that while I like very few people, it's more comfortable with clients who I love and have transactional time with. And that does happen for a lot of people. They'll be like, if I met you in the street, I don't know that I would bond with you, but I've got an hour with you to help you solve a problem. And I love everything about this hour somehow. I don't know why that's happening, but it does. And it's why a lot of people are very social at work, but they don't have social lives outside of work. This is something you can stretch if you want. You don't have to. But what's amazing with charisma is you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to stretch your charisma quotient bigger than you expected, or you're going to realize that you love the level that you have and you're going to start to value it, and you will be charismatic in the quotient that you have. You don't actually need to stretch it in this program. That's not part of it. But it's going to show you, if there's parts of you you've wished you could touch, how you do that through this lens. And on the flip side, you might actually fall in love with yourself in this program and be like, if I could just attract people like me and stop being offended when they're on this side of the quotient or on that side of the quotient, they don't like me. If I could stop being offended because I don't like them anyway, and I could just be here and love my life, I would get my whole power back. You might get that in this program. Either way, we'll find out. The bigger the why, the easier the how. That was Jim Rohn that said that. So it basically means the stronger the reason why you want something, the easier it is to do it. Like, people say, how do I care about this person? Well, when you find out that, they'll end up being your daughter's partner in life and that you'll be with them your whole life, that's a motivator. Why? Well, they're a stranger on the street and you'll never see them again. It's a little harder. Well, in 2 weeks from now at a event, you'll find out it's your boss's kid. Oh, okay, wait, let me make an effort. Like there's the bigger the why, the easier the how. And I don't know. So this is it. So Marta says, I always say, I don't know what they're going through. Now, I don't know what they're going through would be a perfect sentence for a person that has a lot of compassion, not a person that has a lot of conviction, because that person will say, I know exactly what they're going through. They're going through being a different strokes for different folks. You're going to realize your sentence that works for you works because of your charisma quotient. It never benefits us to burn bridges over something small. Getting comfortable with not being liked and not giving an F has been a process. I'm close to not giving an F, and it's been deeply ingrained to care. So here's the difference. Not giving an F is you slicing off the crust of your care quotient. I'm not saying that you need to do that. I'm saying you do care. You get to say, it's a shame. I just really don't connect with that person. And when I think about it, if I would actively go forward and develop more care and more curiosity so I could get them, that also doesn't inspire me either. So I'm not willing to like them more. They don't like me back. It's a shame. They're just not my person. That is a universe away from I don't give an F. That is a universe apart. So kind people are often told to care less by the people who are convinced and confident and all the things. That's not always the answer. Their quotient is here. Your quotient is here. Just stretch this. Don't cut this off. Stretch who you are. Don't cut parts off. Your ability to care is extraordinary. You could teach this person a whole bunch. They can teach you a whole bunch, but don't cut your crust off. Don't cut the edge off just because it's crunchy sometimes. We have no idea why people are showing up the way they are. That's why stretching our compassion and curiosity goes a long way. So this is where the people with care and compassion and connection and curiosity are able to stretch in this one area where most people are like, you know what you've got to do? You've got to focus on your own stuff. You've got to not care because turkeys and eagles don't fly together anyway. It's going to be a totally different mindset. No one's wrong, but you can stretch, you can learn, you can grow, you can get curious, you can adapt both sides of the mindset and decide which day is better for what. It's because people investing in us, time, care, trust, money, we also want to invest in them, our attention, heart, knowledge, etc. That is really a very valid point. So you know how someone said, why is it that I'm not really a people person, but when I have a client, all of a sudden, yes, well, it's because, as Stephanie just said, they are investing trust in you. They're investing money in you with you. They're investing time with you. They're showing you that they care about you. They care about your expertise. Whereas maybe strangers or people don't tend to value your mind, your expertise. And so you don't feel that same bond with them. Whereas when someone's like, I value who you are, what you do, I'm willing to pay you, I'm willing to honor you. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the best relationship I have. This is the best. That also can happen. I have a high compassion quotient. Yes. I'm really charismatic when I feel good, but right now I'm a bit sick and sad. How do I still feel charismatic? The thing is, you're charismatic either way, because if you're like sassy when you're mad, there'll be people who love you that way. It's more saying, how do I stretch my quotient when I'm mad? Like, how do I still have compassion for people when I feel like I'm the one that's suffering? And I think this is the question most people ask. How do you be charismatic when you don't care about people? How can I be charismatic if I'm not confident? How can I be charismatic if I'm not? That's just one of 8. It doesn't matter. Lean on the other ones. And we will go into that. That's coming. Working on my currency and confidence. My compassion is high. I'm going to stretch, which resonates because I'm a yoga instructor. Love it. Okay, Ruta says, how do you make sure to be intentional with your closed, intimate friend circle when you start becoming more and more charismatic and liking more people? Well, that's an interesting question. So what I would more so look at, instead of how, is why you would feel you would need to be more intentional with your friends. Like, what do you imagine would happen? That's what I would contemplate. How questions are usually why questions, because it's like, why do you think that you would need to be more intentional with a circle? What do you think is going to happen when all of a sudden you like more people? What's going to backfire? You know?
getting comfortable with not being liked. Okay, this one I looked. I feel like I want to expand on one side. I have to sand off. Okay. I feel if I want to expand on one side, I have to sand off the other side a little bit. Like I want to stretch my conviction and confidence. I need to cut off some sensitivity. That's what most people think. That's why we're in this mess. Because there's a deep part of you that does not want to get rid of that sensitivity. That's your favorite part about you. But you really want to be confident. Like you wonder deep down inside why you haven't just picked up confidence. It's because you think you have to give your legs up or you need to give your tail up to get legs. Like you don't want to really do that. You don't want to give up a thing that's important to you. You don't want to give up your voice. You don't want to give up like the Little Mermaid who signs away her voice and her fins to get legs. Like sometimes it costs too much. I want this, but I don't want to give that. So you want to be confident, but you don't want to have to give up your voice and your legs. You want to give up all of the best parts of you. You want to be able to keep the best of you and add more. This is where everyone gets cut short. You think confident people want to say, I need to cut off my confidence if I want to be kind? Then we're done. Our goose is cooked. No confident people will ever become kind. If they've got to give up confidence, there's no way they're giving that up. They don't need to. You don't have to give anything up. That's a whole lie. But what happens is the world does need to adapt to believing people can be both. And I really think that's our job. The more people that are both, the more we change the narrative that you can only be one or the other. The more people who are both kind, compassionate, convicted with conviction and curiosity, with super high currency and ultimate care for people. Like when we stretch and we're both like this, it's gonna change the world. When enough people walk with both that people stop saying it's impossible, we will live in a new paradigm. Like a paradigm is an accepted reality. So right now, the accepted paradigm on earth is you can be one or the other. You can be confident or you can be nice. You can have conviction or you can be curious. You can have high value in yourself or you can be kind and compassionate to other people and care about other people. You can't be both, not at the same level. That doesn't exist. One is a lie. That's the biggest issue with the world right now. So either people are cutting off parts of themselves to fit something they think would make them more valuable, or really great people are being questioned and shut down when in fact they're like the holy grail of person, or people are giving up altogether because it's not worth the fight. So the more of us that do this work, the greater for the world. Some of my close friends haven't liked this about me. They prefer loyalty with a small group and not let others in, where I don't like that energy at all, but I do love those friends. So this is where if they don't grow their charisma quotient, you're gonna rub up against a crunchy bit where they're gonna say, we value really small, intimate friendships. And you'll say, I value intimate friendships and I also value global impact. And they'll say, you can't value global impact if you value intimate relationships, which basically means I can't value global impact if I value intimate relationships. My charisma quotient can only value intimate relationships. How is it that you can value both? It must be a lie. This is how most people do it. And so then you can add more curiosity, more care, more compassion with your friends, and more confidence that what you're doing is correct for you, more conviction that you can be both, and you stretch. And if it makes your friends that uncomfortable, it's possible they won't feel connected to you as effortlessly anymore. But this is the decision we need to make. Is fitting in with this small group of friends worth cutting off most of my loaf? Some of us do it for a very long period of time. Will it be worth it forever? Will you end up regretting it? That's for you to decide. I'm very caring and compassionate, but I find myself not being able to have detachment from people or outcomes. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the program, because right now we're not really looking at outcomes or results yet. That's coming. Right now we're just speaking about the energetics for the time being. Our culture has taught us that it's this or that, but we're more expansive and more abundant and layered than that. No pun intended. I like that. How can you be charismatic when people are rude? That's a result. We're going to get there. Closed mind don't get to teach us what is what any longer. That's huge. Yeah, your currency is your self-worth and your self-value. Let's see. I've never been so mindful about my loaf. Janice, I love you. That was a full body yes. Quotient isn't a world that's landing for me for some reason. So you can absolutely find a replacement. Like you can say my range, my charisma range, my charisma range. I range from this to this. That might, or your capacity. I like, or your degree. That also works. So what I would love for you to work on today is to really look at your charisma quotient or whatever other word you would prefer to use, and really look at the words that I gave you, the 8 of them, and see where you feel you range. If you want to use them unique, not attached to each other, you can. If you want to see them like pairs, like I did, where it's curiosity versus conviction, where it's courage versus confidence, where it's currency versus care, where it's connection versus compassion. If you want to see them as separate, if you want to try other pairs, just contemplate the whole thing and see where your range probably is. And ask yourself if you would be open to enjoying the outside range a little bit more, caring about the outside range just a little bit more, even though you might think that the people in the outside range don't like you. Don't worry about that. Are you willing? Are you curious? Are you wanting to develop a little more, to like them a little more, to be open a little more? And then past that, you might find, oh, in this one area, no, here, that is my boundary. But here I'm playing small because I think they don't like me. Here I would definitely want to stretch. Actually, I just don't know that I'm capable. Here I absolutely don't. Anything beyond this, there's a reason I don't go beyond that. So the pairs that I have found are either conviction and curiosity. So you're either absolutely convinced about something or you're curious. Then the other pair is confidence versus courage. So one is, I know I got this. And the other one is like, I don't know I got this, but I'm trying. I'm going for it. Then the other one is currency. So self-value, currency, and care for other people. So most people will think if you care about you, you don't care about them. And the last one is compassion and connection. So usually you've got to be so connected to a person, you've got to be able to understand them in order to like them. Whereas other people, you're like, no, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you. If you want to try different pairs, you want to try Stefan, you see them differently, they lock differently with you, you can play around with this 100%. Thank you, Dominica, for posting this. Okay, so take your time with this, spend some time with it. Tomorrow we have another module, and then, and we are going to post them in the group. They're going to be there for you to see. We have another module tomorrow, and then you'll have a few days to work on this stuff. So don't worry too much if you don't have time to contemplate too deeply before tomorrow's call. I'm going to add more to it, and then I'm going to give you a few days to integrate it before we add the second part. So you'll have space with this to try it on, because some of the homework I'm going to give you is like with people in your life starting tomorrow. It's going to be a fun weekend. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow for module number